Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. And you remember that whole war in Syria that we're not declaring a war, we've never declared a war, that the media only conveniently talks about when they're bashing Trump for leaving the Turkish border and withdrawing troops, even though that in large part was just misdirection, a mirage. Those troops, in fact, were going to be redistributed in Iraq and other parts of Syria. And we're going to go into some of the big developments that the mainstream media in this country is just flat out ignoring ignoring altogether. You know, you're seeing small, we're going to show you like Associated Press, some foreign stuff, Newsweek talking about a few things, but in large part, we're obsessed with the Ukraine and celebritard culture and nonsense. Okay. Meanwhile, Bashar al-Assad, who is a well-spoken leader at the very least, and the very minimum, gives an in-depth, hour-long interview with RT. And here's the thing. I was going to do this video yesterday, but I wanted to listen to everything that Assad had to say, and wow. I mean, from him calling out the United States working with the Mujahideen and creating Al-Qaeda back in the day against the Russians, to working with them today, to creating ISIS, to creating Baghdadi as their boogeyman after they had him in Abu Ghraib prison, to calling out the white helmets, to discussing the OPCW and more. It is a must-watch interview, and it's shameful to me, even though this just got put up, I believe, yesterday, there's less than 7,000 views on the video. And you should watch the entire video, especially if you want to have some idea of the narrative that's being presented in this country and in the West and in the European media, right? As opposed to what Assad himself is saying, a man who took what was a third world country, brought it into a second world country, if not close to a first world country, and now through other things that he talks about, such as sanctions, well, guess what? They're almost destitute. And he talks about the relationship with Russia and Russian interests and why they're involved. You know, they're not there necessarily for Syria because they want to be the good guys. They realize that it's in their best interest to be there as well. So let's talk about all the developments in Syria and around Syria this week. This is just yesterday. 3 blasts hit Syria town near border with Turkey. 6 killed. These are car bombs. So you notice once again, as U.S. troops withdraw in certain places. I remember when Trump 6 months ago was talking about withdrawal, and I'm not talking about after he bombed them, which he did. He was talking about withdrawal, and then all of a sudden something bad happens. The supposed chemical attacks, even though the leaks from the OPCW show that it's staged. Assad himself in this interview says it never happened and it was staged. He talks about the videos being faked of the children under chemical attack, and he talks about the instances that they've done this several times. He calls it a play. All right? U.S. media, almost a complete blackout. Newsweek did report on it, okay? And I saw that it was out there, and one of my great viewers out there also put it in the comments in one of my live streams, so I checked that out as well. So notice there's a full-on escalation, and just like I said, as soon as they left the border and the media was predicting ISIS was going to be on the loose again, within 24 hours we had video all around the country and the globe of ISIS escaping prisons. And within a day or two after that, what did we have? We had beheading videos on TikTok. Same script. Every once in a while they switch out the names. Assad also talks about that. How sometimes they'll put them on the back burner and then they'll use them in a later operation. He clearly says that ISIS pops out of nowhere through U.S. intelligence in 2014 after the U.S. gets involved in 2012 through Operation Timber Sycamore and the CIA. So while all this is going on, I just thought it was interesting to note, not a lot of people are talking about this, Turkish government planning to deport 2 Irish nationals caught in Syria. So you got to wonder, you know, Irish nationals, that usually means some kind of spy game, espionage. Seeing it's Eurocentric, it's curious to me what exactly they're doing there and on whose behalf. Ireland's doesn't seem like that's there. So these could be proxy U.S. intelligence. It's tough to say. Assad talks about the complexities of Turkey and the Turkish people and their history with them, and how he has nothing against the Turkish people. It's Erdogan and their regime. And he also talks about the dichotomy of NATO not liking Erdogan, but at the same time having to work with him because it's the devil they know. Now, the White Helmets, the supposed humanitarian group. Assad openly, again, talks about how these guys are actually the terrorists. And he talks about the photographs and the videos and the same people and who they celebrate with. And their connections to Al-Daesh and Al-Qaeda, etc. All right, all this stuff. Well, mainstream media not telling you any of it. It's the first time in almost 18 months the man sat down and gave an in-depth interview on this. But it's with RT, the Russians. And the thing is, this interview where he brings up every talking point that's out there in Western media, and Assad eviscerates every single one of them. Now, a British man who helped found the White Helmets, he was found dead. James Masor's body was found near his home in the Beoga district by worshippers by the way of the mosque. So it looks like one of the leaders of the White Helmets was taken out yesterday as well. All this stuff happening. Now, when I talked about misdirection in the beginning, I wanted to talk about how Trump is now not only going to outwardly protect the oil, and you got to love this logic, okay? Outwardly protect the oil from ISIS, an entity in which Assad says we created. And again, driving around Chevy trucks, U.S. armaments. Please, listen to the other side for a minute because, again, you didn't see it. He talks about all these things. Give it 53 minutes. Listen to the man. All right, but here's the deal. Back in the day when we would go into a country, and I can't believe the war on terror is now, 18 years, right? 18 years on the war on terror. Close to 20, we'll just let it go to 25, etc. We used to say, all right, we need to liberate this country from the terrorists with like Operation Enduring Freedom. Remember that? And we needed to liberate Iraq from the bad guy, Saddam Hussein, a dictator with weapons of mass destruction. And then we would go in and we would basically put our companies in. Halliburton would get in there, right? You'd already have all these crazy, military contracts with Kellogg, Brown, and Root, and this was the rise of the PMG movement. But again, we were taking somebody out. We were in there. We were there for freedom. We weren't there for the oil. Now, Trump's logic, when you listen to this, it's pretty unbelievable, is that we need to just militarily go in there, maybe even bring in Exxon and some other privatized countries, and we don't even have to defeat the enemy anymore and then install our guys. What we need to do is just take over the oil because there's some bad people there. Doesn't matter that Syria wants to fight the bad people too and that it's Syria's oil. We'll just take it. Just like we'll just say the Golan Heights region is now Israel's on behalf of Genie Energy and other interests. And by the way, Assad talks about the oil fields in this interview, but he says that's just one aspect of this thing. So listen to Trump here. It's pretty mind-blowing to me.
We don't want to keep soldiers between Syria and Turkey for the next 200 years. They've been fighting for hundreds of years. We're out.
Again, in this interview with Assad, he talks about how Israel strategically uses their military against them every time they gain ground. And every time they seem to gain ground, these chemical weapons or civilian slaughters seem to happen.
Now, we may have to fight for the oil. That's okay. Maybe somebody else wants the oil, in which case they have a hell of a fight. But there's massive amounts of oil, and we're securing it for a couple of reasons. Number one, it stops ISIS, because ISIS got tremendous wealth from that oil.
Yeah, and once again, Assad addresses this. He's like, how in the world could ISIS move all that oil through the Turkish border and everything else without U.S. intelligence help? All right? Once again, did you know that there's a huge interview out there concerning, us being in the Middle East and the leader there that was democratically elected and isn't, the dictator that people have tried to paint him out to be. Does anybody else? Bueller? I mean, this thing's got less than 7,000 views. I'm not saying this video will get 7,000 views, but it might get close. It might even do better than 7,000 views. And that's pretty sad because I'm just a small YouTube channel. Now, don't get me wrong. This does go out to a lot of United States cable stations, but it's less and less every year. They try to suppress this information. And yeah, it does go on a global basis. I know Russia Today is state-funded, but hear the man out. Let's continue with Trump because he's outwardly saying because ISIS exists, we get to go into other countries and take their oil.
We have taken it. It's secured. Number two, and again, somebody else may claim it, but either we'll negotiate a deal with whoever's claiming it if we think it's fair, or we will militarily stop them very quickly. But no, we're protecting the oil. We're securing the oil. Now, that doesn't mean we don't make a deal at some point, but I don't want to be, they're fighting for 1,000 years.
Look, Russia says it best. It's tantamount to robbery. And again, addressed in this interview with Assad, he says, yeah, the Syrian people are pissed, but what can we do? We have a lot of other things on our plate. We're trying to stop what's going on with us militarily, with the United States, with the West, with Israel. He's like, look, Israel is our enemy. They're taking our stuff. They're bombing us. The United States, I can't talk to them. I can't talk to Erdogan. I can't talk to Trump. They're not here to listen. He's like, this is a pattern of the West ever since World War II. When he talked about al-Baghdadi and being a boogeyman, he also said, they didn't roll out his body. He's like, they didn't roll out bin Laden's body. It's like when they took out Saddam Hussein, they showed you the trial. They showed you the act of him hanging. But when it comes to those two guys, they didn't. And he said, hey, maybe their time was up as assets. And we're going to use a different guy. Maybe they're not as effective, or we'll put them on the back burner. Really an incredible interview. I encourage everybody to go check it out. Guys, I'm a documentary filmmaker. Thumbs this video up right now. If you're new to the channel, now's the time to subscribe to the Burmese Brigade, Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. All available right here for free in the documentary section. I'm doing it 3 to 7 times a day. My James Corbett interview, that's coming up tomorrow. It got pushed back. I'm still trying to get Peter Dale Scott on the show. I haven't heard from him since he didn't make the last interview. If you missed my walk and talk, exposing Elon Musk might be your cup of tea. It's something a little different. We do the walk and talks here. We do the deep dives. We do the news with views that are not left or right, but about right and wrong. And if you like what I do, I give everything away for free with your support. So consider donating. $5, $10, $15 means the world to me. There is no Patreon. There is no Subscribe Star. There is no tiered bonus content. I just can't do that. I want to give everything away for free. I want the word to get out there. I want you to think for yourself and use your own discernment. And I want you guys to have a great day, as I will see you later with more videos. And I'll catch you on the flip side.